You know, every time you think U.S.-Canada relations can't get any messier, something new explodes. And this one? Oh, this one's personal. Because according to U.S. President Donald Trump, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has just apologized for Ontario Premier Doug Ford's now infamous anti-tariff ad, the one that used Ronald Reagan's own words to take a swipe at Trump's trade policy. And the reaction? Absolute chaos on both sides of the border. Let's break down what just happened, and why insiders in Washington and Ottawa are calling this one of the most awkward diplomatic moments of the year. So here's the setup. A few weeks ago, the Ontario government launched a 1-minute ad aimed at the U.S. audience, and it wasn't your ordinary political message. It used archival audio from Ronald Reagan's 1987 radio address on trade. The ad's message? That tariffs are bad for everyone, especially Americans. It was a slick piece, aired during prime time, perfectly timed to hit the nerves of Trump's America First trade rhetoric. But there was one problem: the Reagan Foundation was furious. They accused Ontario of taking Reagan's words out of context, calling the ad misleading and even fraudulent. Within hours, Trump himself jumped on Truth Social, calling the ad fake and accusing Canada of spreading anti-U.S. propaganda. Now, Trump has gone even further, claiming that Mark Carney personally apologized to him aboard Air Force One. According to Trump, he and Carney met privately during the APEC Summit, and after a very good dinner, Carney told him that the ad wasn't something he would have done. Trump said, and I quote, "He was very nice. He apologized for what they did with the commercial." And that's when things got weird. Because only hours later, Carney himself confirmed the apology, sort of. He admitted he had seen the ad before it aired, and even told Premier Ford that he thought it was a bad idea. But he also said the ad wasn't his doing, and that it had nothing to do with Ottawa's official trade policy. Still, to many Canadians, it looked like their Prime Minister had just bowed to Trump, and apologized for something a provincial government did. That didn't sit well with a lot of people. Back in Ottawa, opposition MPs are now demanding answers. One MP even asked, "Why is our Prime Minister apologizing for Doug Ford?" Another said Carney was undermining Canada's sovereignty just to stay on Trump's good side. But here's where it gets even murkier, because some insiders are now saying this whole situation might not be as simple as it looks. According to a senior official familiar with the APEC dinner, and yes, this part hasn't been confirmed, Trump may have misinterpreted what Carney said. Apparently, Carney told him something like, "I regret how that ad was handled." Trump, of course, took that as a full-blown apology. But sources close to Carney insist he didn't actually say the word sorry. So what really happened during that dinner? That's the million-dollar question. And here's the kicker: some U.S. reporters claim that after the dinner, Trump was overheard telling his aides that Canada blinked first. He reportedly bragged that Carney begged to restart trade talks and promised that Ontario will pull the ad. If true, that would mean Trump sees this as a total victory, and he's already using it to rally his base ahead of the midterms. But wait, the plot thickens. Because even though Carney's office confirmed he thought the ad was inappropriate, they didn't say whether trade talks were officially back on. In fact, one insider hinted that Trump's claim about negotiations resuming might be premature. Ottawa, they say, is reviewing the next steps, which in political language usually means nothing's happening yet. Meanwhile, Doug Ford isn't backing down. His office released a short statement saying they have nothing to add, and that the Premier stands by his position on fair trade. But behind closed doors, several Ontario officials are reportedly furious that Carney apologized at all. One aide told a Toronto journalist, off the record, that Carney threw Ford under the bus just to keep Trump happy. And now? It's turned into a political firestorm. In Washington, right-wing commentators are celebrating. Fox News hosts are calling it proof that even Canada knows Trump was right about tariffs. On social media, Trump supporters are flooding the internet with the hashtag #CarneyCaved. But in Canada, the mood is very different. Critics are accusing Trump of twisting the story, again, to make himself look like the tough guy. Others are asking whether Carney should have even met with Trump privately in the first place. And here's where it gets a little strange, because according to a leaked memo allegedly circulating in Ottawa, Carney's team was warned about this possibility days before the APEC dinner. The memo, which hasn't been verified, apparently predicted that Trump might publicly distort any private conversation to his advantage. Yet the meeting went ahead anyway. So the question now is, did Carney walk into a trap? Because think about it, the timing couldn't be worse. Trade negotiations had already collapsed. Trump was furious about the Reagan ad. The Reagan Foundation had publicly condemned Canada. And suddenly, at the one moment when Ottawa could have pushed back, the Prime Minister ends up apologizing, or at least appearing to. Some Canadian columnists are now calling this Carney's biggest diplomatic blunder yet. But others are saying it's a calculated move, that Carney's apology wasn't weakness, but strategy. By lowering the temperature, they say, he's trying to quietly reopen trade channels without feeding Trump's ego war in public. Still, even if that's true, the optics are terrible. Because in the eyes of most Canadians, it looks like their Prime Minister just gave Trump exactly what he wanted, a headline that reads, "Carney apologizes." And for Trump, that's gold. He's already using it in his campaign speeches, boasting that he stood up to Canada and made them admit they were wrong. But here's the thing, according to one U.S. reporter traveling on Air Force One, Trump may have exaggerated the dinner entirely. That source claims that while Carney did attend a group dinner with several world leaders, there was no private one-on-one between him and Trump. If that's true, then Trump's version of events might be, well, let's just say creative. And yet, neither side is outright denying it. Carney's office confirmed a cordial conversation, but refused to say what was discussed. Trump, of course, insists it was an apology. So as we speak, both governments are trying to contain the fallout, but it might already be too late. The Reagan Foundation's lawyers are still reviewing possible action against Ontario for unauthorized use of Reagan's voice, and Ford's team is bracing for potential fines or bans on future U.S. ad placements. Meanwhile, Carney's approval rating, which had been climbing after his climate policy rollout, has suddenly dipped 5 points. And in Washington, Trump's camp is spinning this as proof that he's winning on trade again. At the end of the day, whether Carney actually apologized or not almost doesn't matter. The damage is done. Trump got his headline. Carney got his backlash. And Doug Ford? Well, he got exactly what he wanted, attention. But deep down, both countries know this isn't over. The tension's still there. The mistrust is growing. And after this latest apology saga, every future handshake between Carney and Trump is going to be loaded with suspicion. So was the Ontario ad worth it? Depends who you ask. Because to Trump, it was a political gift. To Carney, it's a diplomatic headache. And to ordinary Canadians? It's just another reminder that when you play politics with America, you never know who's really writing the script. What do you think? Did Carney really apologize, or did Trump twist the truth again? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.